Well, hey, it's good to see you and welcome to the March 2026 Patreon question and answer video where I answer questions that have been asked over on Patreon and for this month over on YouTube as well, and I post it here on YouTube and over on Patreon. I'll explain more about the whole Patreon thing and why I do this at the end of the question and answer things. For the moment though, let's go answer some questions. I'm Catt. I'm an artist based here in Shrewsbury. I work with drawing machines. Let's go. Okay, D3PO455 says, why no glass plane? And that's in reference to me talking about this metal easel here. You could use a glass plane. You want something that's nice and flat, glass plane would do it. You would need to tape the paper down. The advantage of a metal one is obviously magnets stick to it, and that's really useful. So yes, use a glass plane. Second one from DDDAS, I'm going to mess up all these names, I apologize. I was also wondering which code editor you're using in the video. In the video, where I was using code editor, that was Visual Studio Code. I'm now using Cursor, which has built-in AI. I tend not to use the AI, or rather, I'm intentional about it. Let me show you. Down here, you got Cursor tab autocomplete. I've actually turned it off. I think it's Shift Command T turns off the AI autocomplete because I find it really irritating when AI is kind of suggesting what it thinks I ought to be doing. But I do like the agents that it has up here on the right, where I can pick an agent and then ask it questions about somebody else's code, or kind of use it for rubber ducking or sorting out like a tricky problem. But I like to be intentional about how I'm using AI rather than it becoming an habitual auto-completing thing where I just start ignoring what it says and accepting everything. So Cursor is what I'm using at the moment. Okay, Chi says, sorry again, how do you come up with artistic ideas? That is an excellent question. I'm glad you asked. Oh goodness. Consume lots of art. There's the glib answer. So if you want to be a writer, read lots of books. If you want to be a musician, listen to lots of music. If you want to be an artist, look at lots of art. I mean, that is essentially it. Surround yourself with it. Go out, view it, go get books. When I'm talking to students, I have 2 exercises I get my students to do. And I will tidy this away and show you what those are because they may help you. All right, let me use these as a guide to help. The first exercise is to find something, design, an art piece, graphic design, deconstruct it and then work out how to recreate it with code, but code where you can add randomness or change some variables. So here's Rudolf de Harak. So if we have a look through these designs here, let me just show you this. So this is not a bad thing, like these circles here, or this shape here, these designs. Let's see, this is quite a nice print design. Let me go through this as well, like how could you recreate that with code? This again, but let me go find... Actually, this is a good one here. Okay, so I would say to the students, deconstruct this. If we go through it quickly now, okay, we can see we have this grid going on here where these mark the corner of the grid. They could carry on here. Okay, we've got a circle element where the center of the circle is there. And then we have another circle on the same center. So we have one circle, we extended it. What happens if you had another circle? If you put one in the middle there, a smaller circle. But then we have these 2 circles here that aren't just randomly placed. If we ignore the fact that they're level for the moment, this line is the distance, and the same again here. But this is flush with the edge of this circle here, and this is flush with the edge of this circle here. I hope you can see this on this color. Anyway, so what happens if we start having more circles that are flush with the edge, or on this circle around here? Breaking it down even more, we've got this red line. It's not a random red line. It starts again on the circumference of the circle, stops here for some reason, and then starts again on here, right at the edge. If we look even closer, we can see that this circle, it started here and it's grown until it's hit that point of this cross. So its radius is from here to the edge of that point. And then this outer circle is grown until it's hit just this line down here. So it's level with that point. So these aren't randomly sized circles. They're actually starting to connect these other elements of the page. This green line here obviously goes down, matches here, stops at the edge of the circle. This is the same width as those 2. So as we've deconstructed this, you would start going, Well, how could I create this in code, and then how could I have randomness? So if the center point was somewhere else and I grew it until it hit one of these points, what would it look like? If these circles were on the edge in a different place, what would that look like? How could I change the colors? So that's an exercise I would give to the students, is find a design or something somewhere and then see if you can like do something with it, use code. What have we got here? Yeah, so like this thing here, these squares here. This is another good one here. If we took these squares, okay, it looks great, but then how could we do this in code and not laid out like this? If they are randomly aligned, what are the rules that make that work? So that's one exercise I'll do. And by going through that exercise, what you're doing is you're putting your mind into the right space to then start creating other ideas and jumping off. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing I would suggest, the other exercise, is I tell people to find 3 artists. So we've got, this is Carl Martin's, that's got lots of interesting sort of artwork and design in, lots of graphic design stuff. So you might take something that he's done, like all of these lines that have thicker lines down here. We could take that. Bridget Riley's a good one. So she has these stripes, these type of stripes here, these wavy stripes. Flexible visual systems. This is a really good one because it's actually got rules telling you the instructions on how to work within a grid and within a system. It's actually got instructions at the beginning telling you what you actually need to do. But you take something like this. Let's take this type of design here. So you'd go, how do I combine that? So these circles and squares, I like those circles and squares, but then how can I combine those with not these circles, but these straight lines of Bridget Riley? So let's take these colors, put them into these squares or circles, and then start rotating the circles. What can we do with that? Or if we start bringing in Neville Brody, there's got to be a couple of things here in Neville Brody. Just that boldness of that pink. Maybe I just like those pink and pluses combined with the Bridget Riley stripes inside those, and then the distressedness of Chris's work that he's done for Reagan and things like that, where he starts taking these elements and then cutting things up and then sticking them together. Anyway, my suggestion is that you take 3 different things. Say these circles and crosses from Neville Brody, the palette and stripes from Bridget Riley, and the deconstruction from Chris's work over here, and go, I'm going to take those 3 elements and put them together. What can I produce from that? Because there's nothing new in the world. Everything is derivative. What you're trying to do is understand your craft, which is copying and repeating stuff that people have done before, and then trying to push the envelope of where you can go to push it in a new direction. You do that by taking 3 pieces of work, and that way you can't be accused of stealing from anyone. As long as you cite your sources, you can go, I was inspired by Bridget and Chris and Neville Brody. I was designed by their graphic design work and their artwork to produce this new piece. No one minds, because you said what's inspired you to do it. And then you'll start to discover your own style and things you want to do. And the other thing is there's certain materials that wasn't available to these people when they were doing this work. We now have computers and 3D printing and all sorts of new materials you can then start to use in ways that these people couldn't. So you're then pushing whatever work they did in that school of artwork, you're pushing it forward to the very latest technology. So that's what I'll say about where do ideas come from, how do you develop those ideas, is if I'm stuck, I will either deconstruct somebody else's work, and then that gets me into a thinking pattern-based mindset, or I pick 3 different pieces of work and then work out how I can combine them together into a new piece. I'm not saying those make the final artwork for you, but they put you into a state where you're then ready to sort of explore your own ideas and discover your own style. So that is my answer to that. Hope that helps. Okay, let's get back to the other questions. Joseph asks, which machine do you like to use for fountain pens? I like the Nextdraw and the axidraw because, if I show you here, you've got this arm here where the carriage moves from left to right. The arm moves in and out, and then the pen sits on the end, on the face of the end of the arm. So when it's writing, it's at this angle, which is a bit more like how you write with a fountain pen. If we go over here to, say, the Unitech, the iDraw. I know on some iDraws you can tilt this sort of this way, but if we had a pen in here like this, it means you can have to start it here, and then you can't go all the way down to the bottom of the page. So you're actually losing some of your page, and on the smaller ones, when the A3 is this way or the A4 model is this the way, but this goes across, your pen is going across the A4 and you can't go all the way to the right. So you lose a lot of drawing area, which is why I just prefer these machines here. It's a preference, like most things. Have you tried Canvas? That's a great question. Amazingly, no, I haven't really. I have a tiny little bit, but I haven't used Canvas for drawing on. I haven't used it for paint. I've seen people do stuff for painting. I've not done stuff with painting yet. It's in the future. I'm going to get there at some point. I think Canvas is very heavily textured, so you're going to have trouble with pens and ink and whatever you would normally use. I have used it with a pencil where I've drawn outlines on the canvas and then painted using that, but at that point you might as well just use a projector and project onto the canvas if you're trying to get outlines on there. So pencil on canvas, yes. Your normal pens, probably not. Paint, yes, of course, but that's a whole different thing that's involved with that. Okay, let's go on. Rick says, do either of the machines I mentioned, the iDraw, the axidraw, go through the cloud to process drawings? And I think I know what you mean. So I've got a Bamboo 3D printer, and when I send something to the printer, it goes up to the cloud and then down to the machine. You can hardwire in or use an SD card, but its default behavior is cloud internet connection. These machines, Nextdraw, axidraw, Unitech, iDraw, don't need an internet connection. You kind of hardwire to them. Their default is offline. You can get a Raspberry Pi, and I've seen people use a Raspberry Pi to connect them to the internet. So you can go up through the cloud, but that is an exception, an extra thing you add to it, and people like to do that. So no, they're not connected to the cloud. There are web services you can upload images to, and they'll generate an SVG and you download the SVG, but it's not part of the workflow. Hope that answers your question. DIY in the Ghetto says, is it worth getting this as my first plotter? And we're talking about one of these here. I would say yes, it is, because it's really easy. The software around it is really mature. If you just want to get on with pen plotting with the least amount of trouble and least amount of teething issues, then yes, definitely one of these is a great first plotter. The downside is it's expensive. So if you don't know if it's going to be a hobby you're going to carry on with, or you're going to keep doing it, it's an expensive way to find out that you don't like doing it. So if you're unsure, then, I mean, this course means you can follow along and just print the results out. And if you feel like after a couple of months you want to upgrade to using an actual drawing machine, then yeah, this is a really good first machine. If you're unsure, then maybe get a cheaper one and upgrade to one of these. Or if you just buy one of these, I think the resale value of them are quite good. So if you use it and you don't like it, there's always going to be someone who wants to buy one secondhand and save themselves like $200-300 or something. So you can reclaim some of that money back. All right, hope that answers your question. In a similar vein, we've got Burks says, building your own sounds appealing. What resources would you suggest? I would suggest this, which is the DrawingBots Discord. If you go to drawingbots.com, I'll add the link down below, and then you go to community, there's the Discord forum there, or just down here, Discord chat. There's a lot of very smart people in there who have built their own machines. This is probably a really good place to go to if you're interested in drawing machines, building your own pen plotter, all these type of supplies and everything. I would suggest there. It's always helpful people who will help you troubleshoot building your own machine. Alrighty. Okay, Roger says, and this is the last one, it's a little bit of a longer one, this one. How do you create the file for this postcard? Let me grab the postcard. So this postcard here, which is drawn by Kitty, this is actually an old project. It's about 2 years old, this one. So some of this information, it isn't out of date, but it'll explain what's going on. So this is based on me really liking slow computing, which is I like the idea of computers doing stuff for you when you're asleep, you're away over the weekend, you're having lunch. So the code doesn't need to be good, fast or efficient. It just needs to do a lot for you to then review afterwards. That's the principle behind this. It's not written in Python, it's written in Node. So that's the first answer. There are 3 parts to this. The first part is it's using an old GAN. I mean, it's old now because this is 2 years old, which was trained on public domain, out of copyright illustrations from old hiking books. And because I really like the style, so they're all things like, oh, you walk down the valley and when you hit the river at the bottom, turn right at the big oak tree, and then they'll draw drawings like this. So it's trained on that, and what would happen is overnight it would churn out hundreds, if not thousands, of attempts at drawing countryside, most of which were terrible, some of which I quite like. So I'll pick 3 or 4. The second part, so part 2, is I used a remarkable e-ink tablet to draw lots of lines, long lines, short lines, curved lines, lots of hatching as well of different densities. And I have a folder that's got, again, tens of thousands of those in. And the third part is a bit of code that will then take an image and it can identify stones, trees, sky, grass, like fences. It has sort of knowledge of what that is, and it's also doing edge detection, and it takes an image and then it tries to take all of the lines and it does hatching, stippling, tries to match the edges with the lines, and its concept of what a tree is. Tree goes branches, so directionality. Again, it's really rough code, and what that does is it turns out tens of thousands of SVG files that it thinks looks like the one image I put in, and again 99.999% of them are rubbish. But it all happens over the weekend. Monday morning I come in, I look through all the results until I find one that is a keeper and I like it, and then that gets used for the postcard. So when I say that Kitty does these postcards, the idea is that when the computer's not doing anything, Kitty is spitting these out, and then at some point I will come review them, keep some for one round and put them back in, and then later on Kitty's churning all these out. So they are done by the AI, but the idea of just saying, hey, give me a landscape and immediately spitting out a good, correct final result isn't at all. It's a mess of code. Like I said, it's 2 years old now. Technology's changed so much in the last 2 years that if I were to redo this, I'd do it in a very different way. Haven't had a chance to revisit it. So it's written in Node.js, it's generated by AI, but AI that only succeeds because it produces so much crap that now and again there's just like a little gem in there. So that is that. I think that's it. That's all my answers. I hope there was something of interest to you in that, and I hope I've answered your questions if you answered them. And I will pass you back over to me, I guess. Oh, hey, welcome back. So about all of that, because I make these tutorial videos for the Drawing Machine here on YouTube, some people want to support me with that. I don't want to charge for the tutorials, but over on Patreon, if you pay there, you can get them all without all the adverts in. Some people like that. Some people just like to support me. As a thank you, halfway through the month, I send out postcards that's kind of generated from the stuff that I'm doing. I'll show you some of that in a second. After I posted those out, I open up a post where people can ask me questions about drawing machines, about life, about the studio, all that type of thing. And then at the end of each month, I answer them here. It also helps save me time because I can round up all those questions into one go and do them all in one go. So that's good. This month, I sent out some postcards based on stuff I've been doing with brushes. So I'm going to say goodbye to you now, and then I'm going to show you some B-roll footage from making those brushes so you can see what got sent out this month. And if you want to join in, over on Patreon. This is not an advert. Sounds like an advert. I guess it kind of is an advert. Go join the Patreon. Anyway, I'll see you all very soon in the next tutorial video where it's probably all about ifs and elses, stuff like that. All right, see you soon. It's Monday morning and I'm getting this to plot out the postcards to send on Wednesday. I need to do it now, otherwise it probably won't dry. So, as you can see, it's based on this one over here that I really like, that I did last week. There's something else I want to do with this, which is to kind of trace a path through here where the marks, let's call them what they are, trees, are less sparse, because I kind of like how it looks like that. But I was thinking about cutting this up into postcards, but I decided to tweak the code so that it's doing them postcard sizes here. But it's still randomizing the draw order of all the lines. And what's happening with the brush here is I started off with this color, red, and then I've slowly moved through here, each time topping up the inkwell in the brush pen with my ink syringe there. So I need to put another lot of this blue in. So the color is slowly sort of changing from one color to the next, kind of slowly, so it does manage it. But it kind of means that everything has a similar tone to it, because obviously it's going round. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's what's happening today. There we go. And I need to do the same again, but in an A5 size as well. And like I said, leave them all to dry and going out. So I really like this design. I'm super pleased with how this is going. So yeah, this is my day today.